to salvation by Christ. Each made a dark compact to slake his thirst no more upon the blood of man, but only upon the consecrated blood of Christ, a blessing that allowed them to walk half in shadow, half in sunlight, balanced on a sword's edge between grace and damnation. Sworn now to the church, each served God as both warrior and priest. Those very duties had drawn Bernard and the others to the gates of Jerusalem. Through the cries and carnage, the wooden cart rolled at a steady pace. Bernard willed the wheels to turn faster as dread clutched him. Must hurry. Still, another need rang through him just as urgently. As he marched, blood dripped down the walls around him, ran in rivers across the stones underfoot. The iron saltiness filled his head, misting the very air, igniting a bone-deep hunger. He licked his dry lips as if trying to taste what was forbidden him. He wasn't the only one suffering. From the dark cage, the beast howled, scenting the bloodshed. Its cries sang to the same monster still hidden inside Bernard, only his monster was not caged by iron, but by oath and blessing. Still, in response to that scream of raw hunger, the points of Bernard's teeth grew longer and sharper, his craving keener still. Hearing these screams, his brothers surged forward with renewed strength, as if fleeing their former selves. The same could not be said for the horse. As the beast howled, the stallion froze in its harness, as well it should. Bernard had captured the caged fiend 10 months ago at an abandoned wooden stable outside Avignon in France. Such cursed creatures went by many names over the centuries. Though once men themselves, they were now a scourge that haunted dark places, surviving on the blood of man and beasts. Once Bernard had the fiend trapped inside the cage. He had swaddled its new prison with layers of thick leather so that not a mote of light could penetrate. The shielding protected the beast from the burning light of day, but such protection came with a price. Bernard kept it ravenous, feeding it only enough blood to survive, but never enough to sate it. Such hunger would serve God this day. With their goal agonizingly close, Bernard attempted to get the horse moving again. He stroked a soothing hand down its sweat-stained nose, but the animal would not be calmed. It heaved against one side of the traces, then the other, struggling to break free. Around him, sanguinists swirled in the familiar dance of battle. The shrieks of dying men echoed off the uncaring stone. The beast inside the cage beat the leather sides like a drum and screamed to join the slaughter, to taste the blood. The horse whinnied and threw its head in fright. By now, smoke rolled out from neighboring streets and alleys. The smell of burnt wool and flesh stung his nostrils. The Crusaders had begun to torch sections of the city. Bernard feared they might raze the only part of Jerusalem he needed to reach, the part where the holy weapon might be found. Recognizing the horse was of no more use, Bernard drew his sword. With a few deft strokes, he severed its leather harness. Freed, the stallion needed no urging. With a leap out of its traces, it knocked aside a sanguinist and bolted through the carnage. God's speed, he willed it. He moved to the rear of the wagon, knowing none of his brothers could be spared from the battle. These last steps he must take alone, as Christ had with his heavy cross. He sheathed his sword and put his shoulder to the back of the cart. He would push it the remaining distance. In a different life, when his heart still beat, he was a strong, vigorous man. Now he had strength beyond that of any mortal. With the tang of blood becoming a humid stew in the air, he drew a shaky breath. Red desire ringed the edges of his vision. He wanted to drink from every man, woman, and child in the city. The lust filled him near to bursting. Instead, he gripped his searing cross, allowing the holy pain to steady him. He took a slow step, forcing the cart's wheels forward one revolution, then another. Each turn brought him closer.